Delegates, brothers and sisters, friends, welcome. Welcome to our 2019 annual meeting, our 22nd ETFO annual meeting. That's amazing. You know, I just want to share something with you. I don't know why. For the last couple of days, a couple of nights, I've been able to sleep. It's like I was anxious about something. And last night, if you follow my Twitter feed, I ended up right here at about midnight. And I tweeted out a picture of this room when it was empty. No, not one person. Well, yeah, there was one person, me in the room, but you could have heard a pin drop. It was so quiet. And what a difference today, walking into this room with the amazing energy that you've brought with you as you represent our members across this province. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited about the week ahead. What a difference a year makes, my friends. I know you will agree that the Ontario we live in today has changed drastically since last we gathered at our 2018 annual meeting. Over the past year, we've faced deep cuts, chaos, uncertainty, insults, attacks, but as we always do, time and time again, we met these challenges head on and fought back. Together, we made certain, absolutely certain, that our message and our resolve as a collective reached every corner of the province with advertising on television, radio, billboards, transit, online, and this year in Cineplex theaters. And since our last annual meeting, we've wasted no time organizing and mobilizing our members and the public. We stood together and successfully fought off some of the blatant attempts by the Conservative government to undermine publicly funded public education and vital public services in this province. This was thanks to your efforts, the unwavering solidarity of our members and our amazing allies across this province. And on that note, I just want to take a minute. I want to recognize a few groups of people who were key throughout this year. First and foremost, I want to recognize your phenomenal executive leadership team, including Sherry, Jaron, and Bobby, our GS and DGSs, and your executive members. Thank you for everything you've done this year. And next, I want to recognize our local presidents. Our local presidents that are in this room and local leaders have done such an amazing job this year. And when you, all year, as always, you have been there when we have needed you. And I would like all local presidents in this room, will you please stand up so we can recognize and thank you. What a team. And I want to take a minute. I want to ask all the first-time delegates in the room to stand up so we can recognize you. Thanks so much for being here. When you get up to a microphone over the next few days for the first time, let us know that you're a first-time delegate. As Lorna said, we have T-shirts for you. We have this giant cannon that we shoot them out to you with, and you have to catch them before you speak. Anyway, amazing. Thanks. Listen, finally, before we get into this, I want to recognize some special guests that are here. Just a few of our amazing allies. And I'm going to ask them to stay at the back of the room. I'm going to ask them to stand up. But if you would do me a favor, if you'd hold your thunderous applause to the end, that would be great so that we can recognize all of them together. First, we have the President of the Canadian Teachers Federation at the back, Shelley Moore. Shelley, stand up. We have, go ahead, clap if you want. Let's do it that way. Like I'm going to tell you what to do. The President of the Newfoundland Teachers and Labrador Teachers Association and currently a CTF Vice President, Dean Ingram. President of OSSTF, Harvey Bischoff, is here at the back of the room. President of the Nova Scotia Teachers Union and also currently a CTF Vice President, Paul Wozni. And the President of our Francophone colleagues, the Federation AAFO, Remy Sabaran is here with us. Remy, stand up. And another special guest who's here today who has stood up in the legislature and defended publicly funded education day in and day out over the past year, the education critic for the official opposition, Marit Stiles, in the back of the room. So listen, as I put together my remarks for today, it was a challenge because what I want to try and do is recap the year, talk about where we are and where we're going. So I have to let the parliamentarian know that we're not going to be able to break for dinner. There won't be any election speeches tonight because I need about 8 hours to take you through everything that's happened. My friends, just over a year ago, as soon as Doug Ford's government came to power, they started to make cuts and create mayhem, and it quickly became very clear that they had forgotten about the people. Shame. You feel free to say shame at any point throughout my remarks. One of the first things that Ford did was trash carbon pricing and all related investments, including a $100 million fund earmarked for school repairs. Yes. And it is going to take us 8 hours. And as he did this, he did this while there was, and there still is, a massive $15 billion backlog in school repairs. The Toronto District School Board alone, one example, lost $25 million designated for school repairs because of that cut. And may I just note here that recently, with all of that, the Ontario and Saskatchewan Courts of Appeal threw out the challenges by Ford and his Conservative friends to the Federal Climate Change Initiative, saying that what the federal government do is within the Constitution, and they threw it out. And now we have the federal government reaching out and offering funding directly to school boards from that federal carbon revenue. What an absolute mess. Almost at the same time, the Conservatives were tearing up the physical education and health curriculum, or as they referred to it, the sex ed curriculum, and hiding it, tore it up, and then hid it away in a closet, or tried to hide it away in a closet somewhere at Queen's Park. But we wouldn't let that happen, and we didn't let that happen. Without hesitation, people from all walks of life organized and took a stand. And during our annual meeting last year, we kicked off the protests and spoke out as we marched to Queen's Park, calling for the reinstatement of that 2015 health and physical education curriculum. Trustees, the LGBT community, health professionals, community groups, our members, our local leaders, the labor movement, and so many others. Many of those I introduced at the back of the room and their affiliates, we spoke up together, and we marched in the streets. We held public meetings and protested that regressive decision at every turn. And one of the most inspiring actions, quite frankly, throughout all of that occurred when high school students across the province took a stand, an amazing stand, and went on strike. But you know, we didn't just protest. On behalf of our members and the students in this province, ETFO took the Ford government to the Ontario Superior Court. And the court ruled in favor of the government, as we know, saying that the government of Ontario has a constitutional right to develop, implement, and change curriculum. Wow. We knew that, and we agreed with that. Of course they have that right. That was never our argument. Our challenge focused on Ford's fumbling of that whole issue, that he and his government, he's particularly tried to intimidate teachers, constrained their professional judgment, and ensured that students would no longer, or tried to ensure that students would no longer benefit from a comprehensive content as found in the 2015 curriculum. You know, things like consent, gender identity, and same-sex marriage. The most important aspect of that court decision was the recognition and the confirmation, page after page, of a teacher's right to use their professional judgment, to establish inclusive learning environments, and to teach any and all parts of the 2015 curriculum, and without fear of reprisal. That was a huge win. But as you know, we're still waiting for the revised health and physical education curriculum. Over the past year, we've seen firsthand that the priority of this government is not what's best for the people. It's all about the deficit. At all costs, no matter what they have to do, who they have to push aside, they want to reduce the deficit. With that as their singular focus, we've seen them, with the stroke of a pen, overnight, cancel the $15 an hour minimum wage and attack Bill 148 and workers' rights in this province. They canceled the basic income pilot, pulling the rug out, if you will, from under 4,000 people and their futures in this province. They cut funding to libraries. They cut $300 million from mental health care, dismantled OSAP, and attacked the Canadian Federations of Students and their union in this province. They slashed $85 million in funding for child and youth at risk, slashed the Ontario Music Fund, eliminated the Office of the Child Advocate, shut down the expert panel to end violence against women, eliminated the Indigenous Culture Fund, and made drastic, deep cuts to legal aid in this province. And I haven't even mentioned health care. I could go on for another 20 minutes, a half an hour. And the whole time they were doing this, in their budget in April, they made sure that they provided $3.6 billion in tax relief to corporations in this province. Shame on this government. What else have they done? You thought we were finished. Well, they canceled the Indigenous curriculum writing sessions, as you know. But 12 months later, Without any collaboration with Indigenous leaders or the community, they released their version of an Indigenous curriculum for grades 9 to 12. Harvey can speak to this much better than I can, Liz and Remy. But to make matters worse, that curriculum is comprised of, my understanding, 10 elective courses. Shame on this government for making truth and reconciliation, Indigenous education in this province and in this country an elective. This is a long-term fight, my friends. When a regressive, right-wing conservative government is elected, they inevitably attack, as we've seen, hard-won worker rights. We saw it with Harris, Harper, and now Ford. And if you're paying attention, you're seeing it happen in Alberta. And we hope it's not going to be happening across Canada after October. So let's go back in March. The Conservatives unleashed devastating attacks on many different fronts when they announced funding cuts, increases to class size averages, the elimination of thousands of teaching positions, and an absurd introduction of 4 mandatory online courses for secondary students. Those attacks and the cuts were confirmed with the release of the 2019 provincial budget in April and the grants for student needs. You know, the Ontario Auditor General said that an investment of at least $1.4 billion was needed in 2019-20 just to maintain what we know is an already struggling education system. And we know now, since then, that that didn't happen. It didn't even put in the rate of inflation into the budget in publicly funded education. With all of that, to this day, Ford continues to say that no one will lose their job. And even if he's saying no frontline worker will lose their job, shame on him. Tell that to the 160 Upper Canada District School Board employees, for example, who are being laid off. Teachers, educational assistants, early childhood educators, English language learner instructors and instructional assistant positions, school office support staff, library staff, speech and language assistants. And this is just one example, as I said, from so many school boards across the province. Or tell it to the 7,000 UFCW workers who are employed right now at beer stores across this province who are going to lose their jobs because of you not agreeing to hold up your end of the bargain with a signed contract. Shame on this government. Let's be very clear. We were certain that this government, as we headed into March, were fully prepared to remove the class size caps in full-day kindergarten and the primary grades. But our overwhelming response, your overwhelming response to their trial balloon made them think twice. And together, the people of Ontario protected full-day kindergarten and primary grade class sizes. Our members, sister unions, Labour, parents and experts took a collective stand. And together we sent over 100,000 emails to MPPs through the Building Better Schools website. Every single MPP was flooded with emails and their phones were ringing off the hooks about the importance of smaller class sizes. My friends, together we did it. And as you know, and I want to say something here, that yes, we managed to dodge that bullet, if you will, or those cuts. But I want you to know that the minute I realized as your president that we had what our colleagues in the other 3 affiliates who were being attacked and having class size averages drastically increased and what that was going to do to them, I immediately let them know that we have their backs and we will stand with them to fight to ensure that we can fend off those cuts. And as you know, while all of this was happening, the government ripped up the needs-based autism funding, misled the public, and willfully created months of chaos and uncertainty for thousands of families in Ontario. But the families directly impacted by those cuts organized a relentless campaign to force the Conservatives to back down. They said early on in that struggle that they were never going away, and OMG, they have not. Those families and their allies won a 6-month delay for those children currently receiving therapy, and they recently won another extension because of their activism. A panel has been established to provide input on a needs-based program. But none of that would have happened, none of it, without their tenacity. But they know and we know that it's not over. These families will now have to wait until April 2020 for news of what a new needs-based program might look like. Their concerns and anxiety about the future continue, but the future and the well-being of their children continues. Will they need to sell their home or get a second job to cover the cost of essential therapy for their children? This is decisions they have to make every day. Will they wait for the call to be on that list to get the therapy they need through that program? Or will they do now what they have to do, as I've said, to look after the needs of their children? That remains to be seen. I can't begin to imagine what those families are dealing with on a daily basis. But as we've said from the beginning, and I want them to know that we have their backs because their kids are our kids. It's no secret that the Conservatives want to eliminate Regulation 274, roll back fair hiring practice. We've been very clear that this is a bargaining issue, and it must and it will be discussed at the bargaining table. And for now, they've held off on any changes to that regulation. And we're going to do everything we can to defend that in bargaining, as we have said repeatedly. But I just want to say, frankly, based on this government's recent internal appointment scandals, this government, Ford, could learn something from Reg 274 about how, in fact, to eliminate nepotism. My friends, as you know, we have another new education minister. Some have suggested that with his appointment, there may be a light at the end of this dark tunnel. I have to tell you, unfortunately, I haven't seen anything to support that so far. Yes, the minister is certainly better in front of a camera, and he did meet with us very soon after being appointed, and I appreciated that. But he has not, as you know, he has not reversed any of the cuts to publicly funded public education that were announced in March and were in the budget in April. Not one. And as you know, in June, ETFO gave Ford and his government a failing grade of F. And if this minister wants to see that grade improved much more, I'd say even to a C, there needs to be more effort and focus from this new minister on behalf of publicly funded education in this province. One thing he should do immediately, and I hope he's listening, and not through a spokesperson from his office, he must do it publicly, make it very clear that not one tax dollar, not one, will go to private independent schools, and that his government are fully committed to publicly funded public education in this province, not just today, but into the future. And he also needs to be clear about the government's position on the future of full-day kindergarten in Ontario. And again, not just their position for this coming September, but into the future. Our position, ETFO's position, has always been and will always be that full-day kindergarten requires a certified teacher and a designated early childhood educator. Together we have worked for years to build up our world-renowned kindergarten program, and we are not going backwards. We responded to the rumors surrounding FDK with an open letter in newspapers from a long list of academics in support of the model, and you may have seen the hashtag #HandsOffFDK trending on Twitter. People have also been encouraged to share their stories about FDK on on our Building Better Schools website, and it is a strong reminder of all of the benefits the program that this program brings to 4- and 5-year-olds in Ontario. My friends, we must continue to be vigilant. We must continue to lobby trustees, MPPs, and the minister to get them to pledge their support for kindergarten and the current FDK model. We cannot and we will not allow the Conservative government to tear that program apart. This must be a focus for all of us in the upcoming year. We also have a new Labour minister who I'm told has been dreaming for years about how to end the RAND formula in Ontario and how to undermine the right of Ontario workers to organize. You know, that concept of right to work in the States. Shame is right. And let me be clear once again. If this government moves to destabilize trade unionism in Ontario, ETFO and the labour movement in this province will be prepared. We will take a stand and we will do everything we have to protect our rights in this province. The stronger... I don't have to tell you that the stronger and more unified ETFO is, the more effective we will be and we have been in the fight for our rights as working people in this province. The more we can do now to strengthen the connection between members, local leaders, and our provincial leadership team, the stronger we are, no matter what we may face. No matter what we may face over the coming years, we need to be able to communicate with, my sincere apologies, communicate with, engage, and mobilize our members, all of our locals, and every facet of our union effectively. And that's why in the spring, we undertook an important and historic member engagement initiative in every local, in every corner of the province. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of you in this room who helped facilitate those steward meetings and all of the school-based meetings. And I want to take a minute to thank the 3 released officers, Karen, Nancy, and Monica, who with me traveled across this province. Thanks to the 3 of you. The response from those meetings, that engagement was overwhelming. And I was personally able to attend numerous meetings, and I can't tell you how inspiring it was to meet so many committed stewards and activists across this province. We're still counting the pledge cards signed by our members at those meetings and thereafter. But so far, I want you to know we have over 45,000 from across the province. Yeah. Amazing. And it's an impressive start. But we must use what we learned through this process and continue to reach out and connect with every single ETFO member if we are going to defend our rights in this province. And beyond the meetings, members also took, as you well know, and we're still doing, symbolic actions at schools and their work sites and in their communities. And these actions were important for building our united voice as elementary educators. It was amazing to see so many members supporting Red for Ed Fridays and wearing our Class Size Matters and Cuts Hurt Kids buttons. And the fact that we were taking these actions along with other teacher affiliates, education unions, parents, and guardians made our statements even more powerful. We made it very clear that we are all in this fight together. In fact, I don't know how many times I saw on Twitter or people told me that they couldn't keep their buttons. They had to give them up because people kept asking for it, so they would pass it on. And the support has truly been incredible. And not to mention, if you watched over the summer, those people who were traveling around the world, quite frankly, wearing their Red for Ed shirts on Friday and still wearing their buttons. Just amazing. And what's also phenomenal is that parent groups have been forming and have been incredibly active all over the province. I had the pleasure of going to one of the walk-ins that they organized here in the GTA, and I thought, there'd be 10 or 15 parents there. And that walk-in was to stand up to and protest the cuts. And I got there, and there was 100 parents there. It was absolutely unbelievable. And throughout this process, just here in the GTA alone, there are now 5 new parent groups taking a public stand against cuts to publicly funded public education because they know more than anyone that cuts hurt kids. And I'm so pleased to tell you that a parent representing that group of 5 GTA parents groups will be here to speak to us all on Thursday morning. And it's not in your agenda because I'm giving up some of my time on Thursday so that they can speak because we think it is so critical. I think it's critical. And along with other union and community groups, your locals have been picketing and lobbying local MPP offices. And let's not forget that we, along with our allies, mobilized for a massive Queen's Park rally in April. The biggest rally against the provincial government I've seen in many years. And we had a united message against education cuts. Over 30,000 people filled the entire front lawn, and I mean the entire front lawn of Queen's Park, and spilled out into the streets. And I have to tell you that the enormity and the energy of that rally took my breath away. I can remember walking to Queen's Park, and the whole time, and I know you've been there as local leaders, and I'm thinking, I hope this rally is a success. We'll work closely with all of the other affiliates and parents groups. And as I walked along College, my anxiety just got worse until I got to the corner and turned up University to Queen's Park, and I could not believe the response. That so many people, so many of our members and our allies from across this province said, we are going to be there, and we are not going to tolerate and stand for the cuts to education. Thanks to everyone who took part in that. As you can see, it is there. As you can see from the projection screen behind me, The theme of our 2019 annual meeting is ETFO, hashtag ETFO Strong. You know that this is a bargaining year, and during bargaining years, our annual meeting themes are meant to send a message from ETFO to school boards and the government. And for this, the 2019 bargaining round, we are signaling to all of them that ETFO members are entering negotiations united, inclusive, and as always, strong. As you know, we gave notice to bargain on June the 3rd to the Ontario Public School Board Associations, the Council of Trustees Associations, and the government. But well before June, your union, together, we were preparing for this round of central and local bargaining. It started in the fall of 2018 with an all-member survey that tens of thousands of our members participated in. And based on your responses to that survey, the Provincial Collective Bargaining Committee developed bargaining priorities, which were approved at our Representative Council in February as ETFO's 2019 bargaining goals. The teacher, occasional teacher, and the education worker central lists that we took into our discussions in June with school board bargaining agencies are based on those approved 2019 bargaining goals. Our central lists were created through a process approved by last year's annual meeting delegates. As that process requires, ETFO central lists were voted on and finalized at a special meeting of presidents and chief negotiators in May. And those lists are being used in our central discussions with OPSPA and CTF to develop a final list of bargaining items, which is what the parties need to do. We need to do before formal negotiations can actually begin. And that's according to the education sector bargaining legislation. And at this point, as of today, those discussions are continuing, but we will inform everyone. The discussions on the establishment of the list are continuing, and we will inform everyone when we have agreed to a teacher, occasional teacher, and education worker central list. But make no mistake, there will be more to say about negotiations this week, and just know that bargaining and the road ahead will be our focus on Thursday. And this week, you will also, in addition, collectively set the priorities for the year ahead. You'll have the opportunity to debate and determine the direction of our union. This is your union, and this is your democratic process in action. Delegates, brothers and sisters and friends, let me try to wrap up. It wasn't quite 8 hours, 7.5. That's not bad. Listen, it has been an intense year. It's been a struggle. But I have to tell you, it has also been energizing and so inspiring for me as your president to watch what our members have done, their responses, their tenacity, their collective strength and resolve is amazing, absolutely amazing, in defense of publicly funded public education, our professions, public services, and workers in this province. As we're not in this fight on our own. And as our members know, and you know, we need to be working with everyone and anyone in this province who is going to oppose the attacks and the cuts of the current government. Let there be no mistake. Your individual and our collective actions are making a significant difference. The actions of those parents, the actions of other affiliates and community groups in this province is making a difference. Now is not the time for us to be complacent or divisive. We must continue to organize, we must continue to mobilize, and we must do everything. We must use every single member and every resource that we have to protect publicly funded public education in this province, and to make sure that at every single turn, every day, we hold Ford and this government accountable for their irresponsible, unconscionable actions and attacks and cuts. You know, I have been so fortunate and so lucky to be your president, and I cannot tell you, I don't have the words to tell you how so very proud, how proud I am of our dynamic union, the strength of our collective membership. It's been an absolute honor to fight with you and to protect publicly funded education in this province. And I look forward to hopefully doing it again. Thank you so much and have an amazing meeting.